Okay, guys, so today we are going to discuss on the topic of pods, which is one of the very important topics in Kubernetes. So, what exactly is pod? See, pod is the smallest deployable unit within which the containers are present. Okay, so let's suppose I have one container or two containers, let's say C01 and C02. Two containers are there. Now, this is an Ubuntu based container. This is also, let's suppose, to Ubuntu based container. Now, the Kubernetes does not manage this container directly because Kubernetes says that I can manage every kind of container, whether it's a Docker container or whether it is Rocket container or any other container services. It can manage everything. Now, if it will manage, let's suppose, if Kubernetes will manage the containers directly, in that case, we know that whenever some problem happens with the container, a new container should be created up. Now, when a new container need to be created up, the Kubernetes need to directly communicate with the container. Now, it is a possibility that some new company come into the place, let's say some containerization company comes up, and that containerization company tells or the containerization company wants to use the Kubernetes as a container management service. Now that new company can also, okay, let's suppose my company is Akshat Containers. Now I want the Kubernetes to manage my containers. Okay, I want the Kubernetes to manage my containers. In that case, Kubernetes can manage it. The reason is because Kubernetes does not understand or it does not worry about the architecture of the container. If it is managing, let's say if a new container is created up here, it need to understand the architecture. But in this case, since the containers are being created up inside the pod, which is nothing but a wrapping, okay, we can just say it's a wrapping around the containers. You can have single containers, you can have multiple containers. So it's a wrapping around the containers in which, okay, which is basically if something goes wrong with any of the container, in that case, a new pod would be created up because it understands and interact with the pod. Inside it, the same replica of the pod would be created up. In that case, it does not have to understand the architecture of the containers. Okay, so that is what is pod is all about. Okay, so if I show you in the diagram, we have a cluster. What is a cluster? Let's say we have a master machine, and we have, let's say, node 1 and node 2 is there. I have a master machine, node 1 and node 2. So node 1, node 2 and master, all three of them is a cluster. The cluster is a set of machine or set of machines within the Kubernetes. So this is the cluster. For example, let's say I am teaching you, so I am a trainer, you are the student, and with you there are 1,000 students which are there. So we all are the clusters, right? So we are connected together in a same system. So it's a cluster. Now, here node, it's we are talking about the two nodes here. Inside the nodes, we have the pod. Two pods are being present up inside the node. Inside the pod, I have two containers. Okay, so this is C01 and C02. So what I have is node is nothing but a machine, EC2 machine or any virtual machine. Inside the node, I have this pod which is there. Inside the pod, I have the containers. Now, this pod is basically the smallest deployable unit. It's simply a smallest deployable unit within which the containers are present up. Either it's a single container, multiple containers, anything would be there. But at the end, the Kubernetes is managing the pods. Kubernetes manage the pods. In easy term, understand it as a wrapping around the containers, okay, which helps the Kubernetes to function properly, the Kubernetes does not have to worry about if this container is a Docker container, if it's a Rocket container, or any other company which is providing containerization service. So pod is very, very important in the Kubernetes. That's the reason I have set it as a separate topic for you guys. So if you have any doubts, please feel free to put it in the chat box. I will definitely answer you. And I have already, you can just check the description. I have updated the notes in the description itself. Thank you for your time. Take care.